This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. He goes to Gibbs-White. Edge of the box. Great goal! What a hit from
Hello, welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to preview the Leicester City game coming up on Sunday in the Premier League. Christian Brown, how are you first of all?
Good, thank you, mate. How are you about yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just the two of us today, which is a change of pace. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of back and forth, but we'll recap the Palace game on Monday night first of all, because you weren't there to do the review. I mean, what did you make of the game? Was it a point gained or 2 points lost, would you say?
It was definitely a point gained with how it transpired when Sangare went off, basically. I thought, first off, we were largely in control without being too threatening. That Alanga chance was the only real effort that we managed to make. But it was the same in the home game when we played in Palace. They're a very tough nut to crack. They're very well drilled. It was the same team that absolutely made a mockery of Aston Villa like a week before at Wembley, for example. They're not a bad side, Palace. Obviously, they started very poorly with Glasgow, but then since they found their feet again, and since Wharton's come back into the fold especially, they've upped up a gear again. So it's always going to be difficult. They were always going to be a team that didn't necessarily want the ball as such. It was a bit like as teams play against Forest. So, and we all know we struggle against teams who don't have the ball. So yeah, it got a bit concerning in the second half. Of course, I think that Sales kept us in the game a few times. The penalty was a bit clumsy, I thought, from Dominguez personally. I know Sales got the blame for it, really, which is quite fortunate. Otherwise, Dominguez would probably be looking at, well, that probably would be a straight red, to be honest. I know, obviously, about the double jeopardy rule, but he's not made any attempt to win the ball, so that doesn't come into account there. So that's quite fortunate, because otherwise he'd be out for a season otherwise. But yeah, I think we've all said before, one of the key things with Forest that concerns us is that they don't seem to have this knack of getting back into games from going a goal down. Of course, it forces us to play with the ball more. So to the level of scores after 4 minutes, it was very pleasing to see. But yeah, like I said, once Sangare came off because he got too knackered, it was on the yellow cards, we just lost all control in midfield, and we were very lucky in the end to hold that point.
Yeah, and I think the difference I liked from him is he was looking to get the ball in from deep and then play passes long over the top, look for runners in behind and whatnot. And I thought that was a nice little new dynamic. It was just a shame we didn't have two out-and-out wingers. I thought Alanga can't do two jobs for two wingers, and Dominguez hasn't quite got the legs. And I think this is where I'd like people like Anderson or Gibbs-White, mainly Gibbs-White, I think, more so because he's more forward, is to make them channel runs sometimes, especially when you've got someone like Sangare on who can find you. We've seen that in the FA Cup, didn't we? Again, when Sosa played against Exeter. Yeah. I know it was Italy Exeter, but he can find you at times. I feel with Sangare, and I thought he did himself quite well, and I think that will show in our teams later on. But yeah, no, I thought it was a point game because I thought, to be fair, we've not actually spoke about this, but we played Brentford and Palace, and they both had real extended breaks on us. Whereas I feel like we've been really stretched. The run of games, I don't want to make it an excuse, because if we are going to Europe, we can't really have that excuse. But I feel like teams' fixtures have fallen quite nicely. Like earlier in the season, we had like nice fixtures where we was playing teams where they were kind of injury stricken or had Europe and everything else, and now kind of tables have reversed.
I think, to be honest, it's more. I don't think it's so much the fitness side of things. It's more the stylistic side of things, because if you look at the last three games, so we've had, we'll take City out of the equation, and Spurs, because Spurs. But Everton, Brentford, and Palace are all three teams who, they are generally mid-table sides who, they don't care how they win. It's not a vanity thing like it is with Tottenham, for example, or Ange, who demands that they must have 80% of the ball, whatever else, and becomes very easy to play against. These teams will mix it up. They will find other ways to win games of football. It doesn't all have to be pretty. And they were all very happy for Forest to have the football. So to the fact that we've got something out of, I know Palace generally better away from home for some reason over the last few months, but the way with how they set up, it had all the hallmarks of Forest being struggling, and that's why I tipped us to lose in the pre-match. I said we'd lose 2-0, and so yeah, it was very pleasing to see that we could find a way through that, and yeah, I actually think that's our toughest run over from a stylistic point of view, because the next three teams we've got in Leicester, West Ham, and Chelsea will all want the ball. They'll all want the ball. They'll all want 55, 60% of the ball, and that'll suit Forest. So I think it's just a case of riding this wave and getting something out of that game yesterday, on Monday night, sorry. And thankfully it is.
Yeah, you kind of touch on a point where I think we'll have this conversation probably in the summer quite a lot. Do you then think that means in the summer or going forward, especially next season, we'll have to recruit and adapt our style again, because teams will look at those three games, Brentford, Palace, and Everton, and say, look how Forest struggled with giving them the ball. So therefore, I think there's an obvious weakness where we need to improve on, which is being able to break teams down when we get given the ball. And I feel like recruitment's going to be a big part of that, especially with the rumours of the outgoings that we could have.
Yeah, and that's the next step for this team. It's one thing. I don't think anyone expects us to be this wildly successful playing this style of football with the players we have as well. But obviously we have been. The next step is now because teams will clock onto that. Teams will just give Forest a ball and say, all right, break us down. And not every team's going to be like Ipswich, who tried to do that to a certain degree and couldn't defend. So it's going to be, that'll be the next step. I think that's why you might see more of Sangare in the team moving forwards, especially if he stays fit over pre-season and goes again next year. I do think whatever happens, I don't think we'll sell him personally. I think that seeing as we're likely to be in the European competition, he's one of the very few players we have with European experience. It'd be very silly to sell him from that regard, in my opinion. But yeah, I do think that's the next step. We have to learn how to break these teams down. We were always sort of doing it with one arm behind our back against Palace, but I understood the reasons, because you looked at the first half, I think Eze, Mateta, and Sarr, the only person who touched the ball less than them in the Palace team was a goalkeeper in Henderson, because we're doing such a good job at limiting the supply lines into him. Dominguez, especially on Eze, and so that's why I can sort of allow it to a little bit. But you'd like to think moving forwards, with these three games, you play two wingers. Doesn't matter who, we play two wingers and give Gibbs-White that option to the right-hand side, give other midfielders options on that right-hand side, for example, where we don't have to be defensive-minded, because we need to win these next three games. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, just wanted to touch on something that we spoke about on the last pod as well, Christian, because you weren't there as well. Gibbs-White's departure to Man City in the summer looks like it's going to heat up. I know you were really strong on, especially when he didn't get selected for England, first of all, by Thomas Tuchel in his comments, and you basically said, regardless of whatever competition Forest would get in, he's going. And I tried to really kind of fight that, and I think it was more of an unacceptance of that, but it seems like it's more and more likely to happen. So you can say, I told you so, although it's not, there's no I's dotted and T's crossed as such yet. It's very much hearsay, but it looks like it's starting to ramp up. And it's a shame because of the timing of it all. And I kind of feel like I get Fabrizio Romano and journalists have got a job to do and need to get clicks basically for a pay package. But I just feel like 3 games to go. Could this not have just waited a little bit longer? But I understand it from a journalistic point of view and a way of earning some money. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, I feel for us, it's just poor timing.
Of course it is. Yeah, I mean, you can say that about a lot of things. There's been a lot of rumours that come out ahead of big games going into the run-in. I suppose it's, on the one hand, it's to be expected because we aren't a Sky 6 club and we're going into a period of the season, in some ways it should be a compliment. Obviously, it's more disruptive than anything else, but, news is news. It's going to come out with one way or the other. Like I said, it was painfully obvious to me after that England call-up what was going to happen. I know Reece will very fairly say that when Man City knock on the door, it's not just an England discussion, but Gibbs-White can go there knowing full well that even if they get, as Tuchel set his stalled out, even if City were to get a massive points deduction next season, he'll still be in the England fold. He'll still be in those plans, even if he's on the bench at Man City. It's just because that's how he sees it. He says the best place has to go to the best club, sort of thing. That's clearly his mantra. And I know I'll get the same kickback as before, was, what about all the Palace players and whatever else? And Eze's looking to leave. So, it's very clear a message being sent that you need to be playing in these competitions for these good clubs, big clubs, otherwise you aren't going to get picked. And your past experience of being at tournaments with England will only get you through these next few games while I mould my squad together. That's very apparent to me. So no, I'm not surprised at all. It's gutting, obviously. He's the best Forest player I've seen in my lifetime, personally. Certainly from attacking aspects, certainly from skill aspects. We all thought he had this high ceiling, and he's proved it year after year after year. Could he have scored more goals? Yes. But you look at his output for assists. I mean, he's got more assists than Odegaard's over a lot since he's joined Forest. We all hail Odegaard as one of the best players in the Premier League. It's going to be gutting. I think the only thing we can take from it is that we hopefully send off on a high with the next 3 games, and get as much money as we can for him. Because I agree with the other comment. It wouldn't matter what competition we're in for Europe. One, the England thing, and 2, also realistically, let's say Forest did make Champions League, you'd probably say the best hopes we could maybe have for it are, you might get to the quarters. You might get. There's no guarantee you get out the group stage to get into the next stage. For example, I think for what it's worth, I think we would very much be in that bracket for 16 and 24, because a lot of teams in the Champions League, for example, like Celtic, who Forest would be paired against, I'd expect Forest to beat. But the difference is Man City will go into that competition next season expecting to win it, whereas we aren't. So it doesn't. The Champions League only matters so much. It matters so far. So yeah, it's been coming. Like I said, the die was cast when the England team thing happens, and I guarantee you watch it. Will go like he'll sign for City. You watch him be in every England squad since, and he'll start playing as well. Nailed on.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting dynamic to see if he does go to City, and obviously I think players like Kevin De Bruyne obviously has already announced he's leaving, but if Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan leave, what role Morgan Gibbs-White has, and I'll watch with interest. But when he comes, I'll probably boo him, to be honest. if that is to happen, what fee would you want for him if like like maybe a bit of a range of a fee you see acceptable? And Reece mentioned this on Monday, to be fair, that Marinakis he'll maximise value like he has done for a lot of our players that have left, to be fair to him.
No, he will. I think if we don't sell him for, personally, a minimum of 80 to 85 million, as a minimum, I'd be very annoyed, because that's double what we paid for him. It's a huge, nearly quadruple his book value for the club on PSR. I think his book value is about 17 million now. We are likely to hit his some of his bonuses, obviously for the 42.5 million for Wolves this summer, just because we're likely to be in Europe, so of some description. So I think we need to be looking at, personally, I'd say his value to Forest is 100 million, but whether we get that's another matter or not. I think Marinakis be well within his right to turn around to Sheikh Mansour and go, well, you paid it for Grealish. He's just as important as he is to us. He's taken Forest to the Champions League, you could argue, or been a big part of it anyway. So Grealish did that with Villa. Obviously, it's assuming we win the next 3 games, which is by far a foregone conclusion. But even if he get it, to be honest, Grealish never took Villa to Europe either. So he could turn around and very feasibly say, look, he's taken us to Europe. His price is just as high, if not higher. So Reece is right. Marinakis will demand top dollar. He has done. I think there was only a little bit of wiggle room with Brennan Johnson. We asked for 50 million the whole window. We got 47.5 in the end, and that was on deadline day. So, he's not someone to be pushed around. We know that. British Umbelonga went for 15 million. They pointed his release clause to Borough and said, pay it or go away. So, and even you look at the players that we've sold since, like Mangala and Niakate, even Vakademus, for example. Obviously, that was maybe exploiting a PSR situation at Newcastle, but he still had the balls to go pay it or don't, pay it or take the deduction. So Marinakis isn't someone to be pushed around. I think he will get a massive fee for it. The question will be is how we spend it, because you could argue that while we've praised our recruitment, rightfully so, a lot of the players we signed in the summer now are looking like bad signings almost because of how much the club's grown. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll be doing a lot of podcasts, I can imagine, because you know what Forest are like. They're like a hot magnet for journalists. To link any player, throw enough mud, something will stick. Danilo's been linked to go back to Palmeiras. Christian, I just wanted a quick word on that. Like, I feel sorry for him this season. Obviously, he had the bad injury. Was going to be the starting central midfielder for us all season with him and Sangare. It's kind of a sliding doors moment because his comeuppance kind of helped Elliot Anderson have a breakout season in central midfield for us, and it's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes. But do you feel like that has any legs in it, which is a bit of a pun almost because he broke his ankle? or would you like to see Danilo stay and kind of fight for his spot?
I'd like to see him given a chance. I think, as we said before, he's always going to be inconsistent when he, after such a traumatic injury anyway. Like, yes, the City performance was very bad, but literally a few days before that at Tottenham, he was one of the standout players on the pitch. And yeah, you can say, Spurs are crap, Spurs are this and whatever else. And obviously that does carry some validity because they are. But he still had to do it. He still had to do it. And it's a place we've not won at before, the new Spurs Stadium. They lost 3-1 both times went before. So we still had to turn up, and he did. I think there's still a player there for sure. Would he go back to Brazil? I don't know. I mean, it seems a bit of a step back for him personally, but we'll have to see. I mean, if the money's there and the club, if they say, for example, they offer 25 million for Danilo, the club will be well within their right to say, yeah, okay, because that's an improvement on what we paid for him, and it's a PSR profit as well. So, but it's not because started last season, he was even before the PSR gymnastics, the board were eyeing him up according to Athletic as one of these players for us to get £40 million for. And that's as important to the side. They were seeing him as the next sale, for example. Like you said, Start was part of Nuno's first choice midfield. You don't become a bad player overnight. He's just had a very bad injury, and he's still shown there's enough there to work with. He just won't be fully consistent or fully up to speed while he's chasing his fitness and sharpness back after a terrible injury. I'd give him a pre-season personally, but if the money came in, the club couldn't turn it down, and there was an option to get, say, a Douglas Luiz, yeah, fine, that's a different conversation. But at surface level, no, I probably wouldn't sell them. I'd like to give him a bit more rope.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think he'd be worth keeping around, especially like you mentioned earlier about Sangare in Europe. I just think like having those options to not only change formation, change personnel, change kind of system, because he fits a lot of different roles. So I think he's got a lot to offer, especially being left-footed as well. It shows a lot with balance in midfield and at centre back, as we've seen, even at fullback to an extent. We've seen how much it matters to be a natural sided player. So yeah, I'm kind of in the keep him. I mean, it would be interesting to do a bit of a squad look over almost in the summer and say like who would keep, sell, maybe loan or whatever. I don't know. That might be quite fun. But we're going to look forward to the Leicester game, Christian. They've already been relegated, as we've said. A game that I have personally said, and I don't normally say this because it's the Premier League, but it's a game we should be winning. And I think the expectancy is going to be high. However, I do hope that us as supporters aren't going to be too cocky about it, too confident about it, because there's got to be that balance of trying to still getting behind the team, because I don't want to go to the City ground and expect to win, and then therefore there be no atmosphere in getting behind the team, because we go, well, we should be winning this quite comfortably. So how do you see it going, and how important is it because of what could happen at the weekend with Newcastle and Chelsea playing each other?
I think the caveat of that is that while I think if that was, say, 3 months earlier, I think you're probably right. It might be a little flatter than normal, especially as Leicester aren't really rivals. I know obviously Sky ham it up because they kind of have to, but they also ham up Baller League, so well, they know. But you look at, it's not a game we should be winning. It's a game we have to win. There's no if buts maybe about. We have to win that game. If you want to see, I mean, even if worst case scenario we lose to West Ham and Chelsea, a win on Saturday guarantees European football in some capacity. So, Forest absolutely have to win that game. and the fans will know that. And I don't think it'll be a case of like I'm not going to go into the ground on Sunday thinking, oh bloody hell, like this would be like a walkover, or going in thinking like quite tense, thinking we need to win today. Doesn't matter how we do it, we need to win. I don't care if it's 1-0 and it bounced off someone's arse in the last minute. We need to win that game. That's all that matters. So I do think that that sort of the spell, that sort of expectancy going into the ground. So I think there'll be more of a desire to sort of just get behind the team, as we have done a lot this season, just get them over the line and just give as much help as we can, because it's not going to be a, stroll up, get a cigar on, sit back and chill out and make no noise and sing no songs. They're going to need every little bit of support they can get, because they're crap. There's no getting away from it. They're one of the worst Premier League teams I've seen in a long, long time. But it's everything they get for sacking Cooper the way they did and replacing him with Van Nistelrooy. It's just like Company 2.0, isn't it? It was just like woke ball, just play out from the back and just get caught, exposed time and time again because they can't do it. It's pathetic. Like, they deserve to go down. Hopefully they stay down for a long time. They're an embarrassment to the league. But that means nothing, because we still have to beat them. So
of course,
we absolutely have to put them to the sword and get results. Goal difference is becoming more important now, especially with Villa creeping up our backs. So we need to win, and they're going to need us big time.
Definitely. I mean, did you go to the reverse? Did you go to the King Power? I can't remember now, actually.
I did, I saw you. I went.
Yeah.
I said hello to you before you go.
I couldn't remember, but honestly, it was possibly one of the funniest away games I've ever been to, because as Matt Sells has boomed that ball forward and Wout Face has let the ball bounce, I've already known that Chris Wood's going to head the ball in, and I'm laughing, and I've thrown my glasses off my face, and I've gone, damn, sort of thing. Got to pick them up in midst of the celebration. But honestly, one of the best away games, mainly because of the housery as well, singing Steve Cooper's name. I mean, I'm sure if we are winning, that will get sang. Like,
absolutely,
probably 100. Put a bet on it; it will come in. But I mean, do you think we have to approach this game then in terms of like being on the front foot, or do you see it as, like you reiterated earlier, that because Leicester will want the ball and will quite gladly have it, that we can kind of sit in, but they know that we need the points. Their fate's been sealed. Or how do you see it?
But I still think their fans will take losing, because for them it is their big one. They'll take losing in the next two games 25-0 if it means they draw or beat Forest and kill our Champions League hopes. So they are still going to go into it well fired up. Their players will also know as well that after an atrocious campaign, which is still being polite personally, they'll know they can make up for some of it by beating Forest. And, there's probably some of their fans who will take being relegated if it meant they beat Forest. So I don't know if they're going to be sort of like, come and get it and just keep knocking the ball around and don't do anything with it, and it becomes a bit boring. I think they will try and attack us. But it'll be interesting to see how we approach it from a stylistic point of view, because you're right, we could get caught in a rock and a hard place, or we could just kill the game very early. Because I think if Forest score in the first 10 minutes, that's down its wraps. They won't come back. And if they do try, we'll probably just kill them on the counter. So it'll be very interesting to see.
I've kind of got the vibes of Southampton when we went into that, and we was pretty confident because A, we was on a decent run of form at the time, and B, they were awful. And then once we went in front, we then scored a second and third. I think, however, this time I don't think we would take our foot off the gas. I'd like to think we'd go for the jugular and kind of kill them, to be honest. That would be lovely. I mean, if we could repeat the Rob Earnshaw hat-trick against them in the Championship, that would be absolutely lovely. I'm going to bring up our teams to go through. I'm going to start with yourself. So I'll read out for the listeners. It's 4-2-3-1. Matt Sells in goal, Ola Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo providing he's fit, Nico Williams across the back, Sangare retaining his place with Elliot Anderson, Elanga, Gibbs-White, Sosa coming in for Dominguez, and Chris Wood. Is this what you were saying about we have to play wingers in these next three games regardless? And I want to see Sosa. I think it's a good opportunity for him. I feel like he's been really hard done by this season. I know that might be a kind of a case of, is he better without playing like we have done in the past? But I generally think there is something there with him, to be honest.
No, I agree. I think he's a little unfortunate on Monday. I know he wasn't great when he came on. He also the ball didn't really go down that side. We suddenly stopped again, it sort of coincided with Dominguez coming off, and he was Dominguez's sub, wasn't he? So I think, and no, we lost a little bit of control then, and then Sangare came off, and then the ball just didn't go to left wing at all. So I mean, Ilanga even went over there at one point to try and get the ball moving that side. It didn't make much difference. So I don't. He wasn't amazing on Monday, but equally wasn't really given a lot of rope or opportunity to sort of show what he can do. I'd like to see him from the start. I think another thing you noticed towards the end of the game, especially, was they weren't passing the ball out to the right wing. Gibbs-White was getting very frustrated. There was no outlet out there, like you said, because Dominguez had a defensive duty to do. So we shouldn't be playing that way at home. I'd like to see us get on the front foot attack. I do not want to see Elanga on the left wing anymore. It does not work. It's like watching Lee Martin and Mustafa Carriol. The ball just bounces off him and goes out. It's not fun to watch. Just get him on his right-hand side where we know he's one of the best wingers in the league and know how effective he can be. Just don't take away from his strengths. Play Sosa. Give Sosa a go. Just give him a try. I don't think he's actually let us down when he's played, to be fair. No, he's obviously scored in the cup a couple of times. When he started at Everton in the league, I actually thought he was quite decent, to be fair. He caused Ashley Young a lot of problems. And like Danny Trent said at the time, we've played Ashley Young several times. Not one Forest winger has given a run around like Sosa did. So there's obviously something there to work with. But yeah, for whatever reason, he hasn't been given the right opportunities at the right time.
I think when I've seen him as well, he does like to make a run in behind, and I come back to Exeter. I know it's not the best game, but Sangare kept trying to find him, and he did find him eventually, and he scored, didn't he? So yeah, he's very direct.
So I'd like to see it, and I'd like just go at them. There's no point worrying about them. Just go at them. Like just get them off the leash a little bit. I'd like to see Sosa have a go. And obviously, the other change, I wouldn't change midfield either. I think Sangare's done more than enough to earn his shirt for the next few games. We saw his replacement fares when he came on for him, so he's out of the equation completely. Danilo obviously can't be trusted to start right now. And then you look at Dominguez, who he wasn't bad by any means against Palace, but it's probably a poorer night for him. Again, very lucky not to be sent off. Went into a duel he was never going to win and got a yellow card as a result of it. So, yeah, I think what pleased me most about that as well is Sangare and Anderson were playing like they played together for years as well in that first half. Like, the one-touch play and the movement, they just read each other's games so cleanly. It was really, really nice to see. So if they can assert that level of control against Palace, a very good side, in Palace's back garden as well, there's no reason why they can't do it against a mid-table championship side, which is exactly what Leicester are. So, yeah.
Really hammering it home.
There's no point hiding it. They had to beat Southampton to get above 20 points. They're a joke.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up my team, which is very similar. So it's not really much talking about because I've put Dominguez in for Sangare. I debated it. I feel like you've probably won me around to playing Sangare. It would be harsh to drop him. I just think Dominguez's energy is so good. And then in the reverse fixture, I know it was Dominguez, Yates, and Anderson because Gibbs-White was either injured or serving a suspension. I think it was the latter.
It was a ban up in the Brighton game, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was either, I can't remember. It was a combination.
It was Dominguez and Yates in midfield.
Yeah, it was an injury or both. You know what I mean? But yeah, I want to see the wingers. I want to see us go at Leicester, fly out the traps, and really go at them. I did do an alternative 11, which is potentially what Nuno could go with because of his trust issues, which I think could be this. You could argue Anderson on the wing or whatever. I don't want to see this. I know I've put Morata in there in case Murillo might be injured. I don't want to see this personally. I think it would be a travesty. Dominguez on the wing is so wasted. It hurts. It hurts a lot because you just feel so sorry for him. And you'd be kind of thinking, well, what are you scared of, Nuno? Like you say, Christian, we're playing an absolute terrible side this season. They are really, really bad. They're going to go down as one of the worst teams to have got relegated this year. And they deserve everything they got for sacking Cooper when they was out of the relegation zone. So there is that little issue. But how do you see the score going? What do you think that will be?
I mean, we're looking at a team that's conceded 76 goals this season. So if Forest are to go safety first against that, Jesus, like the uproar in the stands, the absolute uproar. I'll go 2-0 Forest. I think that there'll probably be some nerves because as crap as they are, again, it is their cup final. I remember saying before in a preview, like there's for the last game, return game, there generally will be some of their fans who will take relegation when they beat Forest. Like, all right, fine, we beat the Reds. Like, great, we don't even think about you or care about you, but okay. But so, yeah, it'll be 2-0. It'll be an awkward game, I think. But if we do go at them, like really go at them, and if they play the way they have been all season, the way they've been defending, the mistakes they make, the way they cheaply give the ball away in stupid areas, trying to play football they can't play. If they do that, we'll kill them. It could be another 7-0. Very easily could be another 7-0. And we don't have Hudson-Odoi that day either. So, but I do think with the tension around the club at the minute, you can see that it was better on Monday. They responded better, but there seems to be an element of fear to me personally. So I'll go 2-0.
But I see it as a potential lack of confidence and plus injuries, plus lots of games. I just feel like we've not had loads of time to prepare in certain scenarios here and there. I think this game is a really good one because of the fake rivalry we have. I feel like the atmosphere will be really good. I think that will kind of give the players that extra 10%. I think if we go at them, I think we'll beat them 3-0, personally. I really do. I think Chris Wood could get to his 20th goal of the season, and I think that because he likes to score against old clubs as well, and he scored in the reverse, got 2 goals, obviously. I just feel like Leicester might huff and puff a little bit. I just feel like we've got too much for them, but you never know. The pressures of the City ground has seemed to have got to us in the last 2 weeks in games where you looked on paper, you go, yeah, we'll beat Everton and beat Brentford, or at least get a point in each of those. And arguably it should have been both 0-0 games or whatever, and we've came out with 0 points there. So it's got to be 3 points on Sunday, and it could be helped with the result before the game, Christian, which I do want to talk to you about. I've got this little graph I've done. So these are remaining fixtures for the Champions League spots. I should have done Aston Villa's as well. I completely forgot, to be honest. So I do apologise. I will mention theirs as well. So Arsenal have got Liverpool, Newcastle and Southampton. City are playing Southampton, then Palace in the Cup, Bournemouth, Fulham. Chelsea are playing Newcastle playing Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and Chelsea playing Newcastle, obviously before us at 12 o'clock, and then Man United, then us. So this is going to be an extremely tight race for the end. And I will just remember Aston Villa. I'll just write that, put them. I'll just read theirs out as well.
Sure,
so they've got
Newcastle game at Everton's at St James's, by the way.
It is. Sorry, I do. Yeah, I've made that a mistake. So Villa have got Bournemouth, Tottenham away, and Man United at home. Away, sorry, Tottenham at home, Man United away. So if we win on Sunday, Christian, that's Europe secured. But the interesting one is obviously this race with Newcastle and Chelsea, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted Chelsea to beat Newcastle or the other way around. But then, like Reece mentioned about Chelsea beating Newcastle, and then obviously, if certain things go a certain way, Arsenal aren't guaranteed a second place finish, so might have that pressure of when they play Newcastle at home next weekend. So how do you want it to go?
How I want it to go, Forest in the top 5. That's how I want it to go. How do I think it'll go? It's a different question entirely. I did see a thread on Twitter actually about how it's probably more beneficial if Chelsea win on Sunday.
Was it from Paul Morley? I think he goes on Forest Focus every now and then. I think I see the same one.
Obviously, there's a hell of a lot of if, buts and maybes. I mean, football always is, of course, but way more so than usual. But I think he was saying that if Chelsea beat Newcastle and United, they'll be in the Champions League before. I think they'll be there before the final game. It might depend on the results.
If Newcastle then didn't beat Arsenal, I believe that's the case.
Yeah, which to be fair is that's very likely to happen. Because I can see Arsenal losing this weekend to Liverpool, but I can't see them going 3-4 games without a win, which is what they would currently be on if they lose to Liverpool and don't win today in the Champions League. So, and then, like I said, they want to secure seconds. So, yeah, Newcastle's run's a bit iffy. Even Everton. I mean, Everton will turn up and just be very difficult to play against. And so it could be, I think they put the dodgiest ones out the 3. Saying that, though, Chelsea won't. I don't fancy Chelsea to win at Newcastle. I don't think they will. They've had a really patchy record against Man United as well. Chelsea, they haven't beaten them in a long time. They've just had this weird chokehold over them, I'm pretty sure. So
didn't Chelsea beat him in like some crazy fixture last year where Palmer scored 3 or 4? They got like 3 penalties in that game, didn't they?
It might have been that 4-3, yeah, or that might be the first time in a while. I'm pretty sure it might be at Old Trafford. To be fair, could be completely wrong on always winds up, but I'm fairly sure Chelsea haven't had a best of times against United in recent years. But then, obviously, if United get through as they should, they'll have a European final in a few days. So they'll probably play the under-16s. So so much conjecture, so much like if, buts, maybes, and who knows.
Just Forest win all 3 games.
That's all we can do, and that's all we can do, because it's no point hypothesizing about Newcastle's potential drop in form, or whether Arsenal will finish 4th or 5th or anything like that, or whether Chelsea go on and overtake Man City. None of that matters unless Forest win our next 3 games. And really, against a diabolical Leicester side at home, not even a million miles away levels of bad West Ham away, and then the last game's Chelsea at home last day of the season, who are right in there with you. If you can't get rolled up for that, then there's no hope.
And I think Chelsea will have a European final not too long after they play us as well. There's so many variables, isn't there?
Yeah, so many variables. And also, Maresca's shown recently as well, he's happy to drop players ahead of the Conference League, which I didn't think Chelsea would do. They didn't really need to do it, but he's been dropping Palmer, he's been dropping Jackson, dropping like some of the midfielders like Fernandes and even the wingers and Madueke and whatever else. Like, you don't need to be doing this. Kukurea has been dropped as well. Reece James has been dropped quite a lot. We think that the depth that Chelsea have and the money they've spent, they would be probably prioritising the league a bit more. I think was it Dewgarden they've got or something like that? I don't even know. And
they've got a 4-1 lead already, so they could probably play their B team and get through.
Yeah, you think so? If they had any sense, they would anyway. But obviously that goes against what Maresca's done so far. So yeah, like you said, many variables. It's a very exciting picture to be a part of. It's quite nice to be in a race like this rather than looking at Swansea or Bristol City's results and seeing if Forest can topple them for like 5th or 6th in the playoffs. But none of it matters unless we do what we need to do.
I think the other big fixture is
it's in our hands. I think that's what people forget. I think, yes, we've had a bit of a dodgy run, 1 win in the last 5 or 6, whatever it is, that win at Spurs. It's still in our hands despite that. Win our next 3 games, which we very feasibly could do, and it really is Bayern Munich and Barcelona. So
yeah, I think the other important fixture is that Bournemouth Villa game. If Bournemouth get even a result, or if they beat them as well, and we win, then that gives us that gap, that gives us that cushion. We obviously qualify for some sort of European competition. I just think like this weekend it could all be up. All Millhouse. It really could.
Or it could go the other way, and we're finishing 8th again.
It really could, and it's just as we always say on this pod, the easy way, the hard way, and the Forest way. Like should be our slogan, to be honest. Like we should pattern that and all. Another Lee Clark special. So yeah, just it's more fun to be part of this end of the table, but it's also stressing me out. I don't know about you, but it's so stressful.
I was reading that thread. I was like, I can't read any more of this. Like, I got about 3/4 of the way down. I was like, I literally can't. My stomach's doing.
That's how I felt about reading the European qualifications article from ESPN.
You need a science degree to understand that. It's ridiculous. Like no one knows. I think even then, it still isn't actually a contingency plan. If Palace and Chelsea win their respective competitions, no one still knows what happens to the Conference League place. So
Europe for
everyone. Up in the air and see where it lands. Like,
what will happen is it will go into a raffle, and we'll
probably go to lose someone. Yeah.
No, but I'm excited for the weekend. It's a pressure game, but this is the type of games I think the players they should relish if they want to be part of these bigger competitions and those European nights. So yeah, let's take it game by game.
The only worry for me is that I'm pretty sure Wolves under Nuno, I think it was in the COVID era, because I remember Mason Mount scoring a free kick and watching it on Sky Sports News with the whole compilation for the final day. I'm pretty sure Wolves had Chelsea last day with a chance to get in top 4 and they lost 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. So I'm hoping doesn't repeat itself against the same opponent for Nuno.
The problem with that scenario was like Wolves were I'm sure they were always chasing. They weren't like in that kind of where we've been in it like for so long, third for so long, and like I don't say it's a bottle because we weren't expected to be there and was only a couple of wins away.
I get Reese's point, but you can look at it at any point of view. Like, would you have expected Arsenal with? Would you have said when Arsenal blew the league after leading it for 250 days, for example? Would you have said, "Oh, we didn't have Man City's resources, untenable bottle job"? No, they led the league for 9 months this season, didn't win it. Of course, it's a bottle job. You look at even when Newcastle blew a 12-point lead to Man United, were people saying, "Oh, Newcastle never had Man United's resources, it's okay"? Of course not. Of course they weren't. So why is it any different for us? Like, you can,
12 points is a lot.
Be true. Both things can be true in the sense that, no one expected Forest to be here. We haven't got the resources compared to teams around us. I mean, look at Man City spending £200 million in January, for example. But equally, if you're third for 4 months this season and then throw it away in the last 5 games, how is it not?
5 games, It's not been 5 games. It's been more on it. So, yeah. I just don't... Positivity, Christian. Come on. We're going to get there. We're going to do it somehow. By hook or crook. And then we're going to laugh at the rest of the league because we've done it in like the most anti-football way possible, as everyone else calls it. So, we'll hopefully be celebrating a win come Sunday, and then the next time we see everyone on this podcast. So, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, we get that win. We're talking about that the next time we're on here, and hopefully results go our way in some capacity. I mean, I don't know what happens if Chelsea and Newcastle draw. I don't know what the hell that means, because that could mean anything. We kind of need one of them to win in some sort of sense, especially if we win. So, yeah, God, it's going to be a hell of a Super Sunday, I guess. But we'll see you all then. Have a good week. Take care. Come on, you ready?